Hello and welcome back to part 2 of my Synology DSM versus QNAP QTS face-off. And I say face-off, come on, let's be serious about this. Both of these platforms are pretty darn good. Both of them are being utilised and shown you today using their newest generation of hardware, the 920 Plus from the Synology NAS portfolio, and the QNAP 653D, although it does, of course, cover the 253, the 453D, and, of course, that 653D. Both of them are utilising 8 gig of memory. Both of them have got the same CPU, the J4125, and both of them are running the latest generation of their respective softwares, QTS 4.4.2 and DSM 6.2. So, I do have a disclaimer that I read in the other video, but hopefully it's on screen right now. If it's not, I'll make it nice and quick. First and foremost, this video is being recorded with OBS, so that will take its toll on the GPU from time to time, and you will notice that because the CPU resources are being utilised in a big way by both OBS and from the browsers running both of these operating systems, things can occasionally slow down a bit, so I apologise in advance. Secondly, the half screen thing here is so I can show you both platforms naturally, but it means that both of their user interfaces have been squished together, and that does make things a little bit tricksy sometimes with windows opening. So for example, that's what DSM looks like full screen. But of course, so I can show you both of them, I've had to half screen it. So occasionally that will mean some of the windows are a little bit squished. Next, I'm running this on the network, and it's a 1 GPU connection from my PC going to 2 NASes on the same switch. So they're all on the same network bandwidth, no internet. So there may be the occasional time when I'm running a big task on one NAS, which will affect the performance of the other. There's nothing I can do about that, but it's a bit of a pain. As mentioned, they're both on 8 gig of memory. The reason I'm doing that is because I want both of them to give you the best experience of what you're going to see. But bear in mind the results today are because I'm running that 8 gig of memory on both, and consequently, if you do want to run all of the applications on a NAS, I strongly recommend that you upgrade the memory to 8 gig. Finally, you're going to hear a lot of hums and clicks from my PC and the mouse and the keyboard, because I'm in quite close proximity to this PC. A lot of it is to do with the recording environment and to limit the noise from the NASes. I've got quite a few in the network environment right now, and so that helps me limit it. But that's about it. That's the disclaimer out of the way. Let's talk about it. In part 2 of this series of videos, I'm going to be talking about file access. I'm going to be talking about how both NAS brands allow you to access your data. This is going to come in 3 separate forms. Let's get the quickest one out the way. Maybe you want to interact with the data on your NAS utilizing your own proprietary desktop file management, Windows Explorer, or maybe you're using Finder on a Mac system. And one of the ways in which you might want to interact is a network drive. This is generally one of the easiest ways if you want to interact with your data on a local app level. Say you're running a bunch of apps on your PC that just need a target of somewhere to point at on your computer to interact with data, and therefore you make the NAS visible. A mapped network drive is the right thing to do. So both platforms have got QFinder Pro for the QNAP and Synology Assistant for the Synology, both free. They allow you to search your local area network for a NAS. As you can see, it's found a bunch of NASes that I've got from Synology right now and the QNAP here. To map a network drive, right-click both of them and select the option for Map Network Drive. Both of them will ask you to log in with your credentials, as you can see here. So let's log into both of them. Log in there, log into the Synology as well, and both of them will list the available network drives, and you can say which one of these drives you want to make localized as a mapped network drive. So let's go for that 14 TB drive there. Go there, select a letter. In this case I'm going to go for the letter Q for the QNAP. Click finish, and in the case of the Synology, let's go for Seagate tests as the folder. Click next, give it a letter. Our S is taken, that's such a shame. Click next, open Map Network Drive, and boom, both of them are now visible as mapped network drives. It's that straightforward, and again, maybe you want to access the data on the drive that way, and therefore you can use your applications and point them at that target storage right there. Both platforms allow you to do that very, very easily and quickly, so no real advantage or any change in the way either of these brands do that is available. The next way you might want to interact with your data, which again is very heavily influenced by your own respective PC or Mac system, is with a synchronized folder. Now, in the case of the QNAP, it is a tool called QSync. QSync is an application you download from QNAP's own website, and it allows you to pin individual folders on the NAS, and then this folder will be synchronized with a folder on the NAS system. And therefore, any changes that are implemented on one will affect the other. So if we go here, we can go to the QSync team folder there. Oh, it's that folder there. And as you can see, both of them are exactly the same. These are web files that I've downloaded from an old Facebook album, so hence why you've got those files there. And if you institute a change on one, it will affect the other. So if we go ahead and delete there, it will delete from that folder, and this will constitute a change here. And it will happen gradually as the folders are synchronized together, and it will slowly delete the content of that folder. Now, you don't have to do a live sync. If you go into the Q application, from the QSync client, you can configure a lot of options there in the background, and if you don't want one to affect the other, or you want it to be just a one-way synchronization, you can do that. You can monitor a lot of information. As you can see, those synchronizations are taking place. You can add more folders, add more directories, change information, make network or internet level access to the local PC, to the NAS. There's loads of configuration options readily open to you. You can edit existing connections or add connections as you see fit between that NAS, or adding other NASs too. If you go there, you can add the same NAS or a different NAS, add more tasks, view other tasks, all happening in the background. There's loads of options open to you in the QNAP app there. Now, the Synology Drive application, if we open it up there, is very similar. If we go back into the desktop here, we can open up the PC desktop there. We can go into the Synology Drive folder. And as you can see, Synology Drive, we've got that option there. But one option that it has that the QNAP doesn't, and at the moment only supported by the Windows platform, it's coming to Mac hopefully next year if iOS get on it, is file streaming. Now, if we go back into that folder, you can see those little clouds there, all listed against each of the folders. And right now, what we're viewing is shadow copies of files. So if we go into here, we go into the Moments folder. Let's have a look. It's in Home, Drive, Moments. Again, slight delay because of the network there. We can see all of those files and folders there across these two respective areas, one on the NAS, one locally in that folder. But what's really, really cool is right now, this folder, if we right click it, we go into one of these folders, Christmas 2019, we can see that it's 7.40 gig in size, but it's not taking up any space. The reason is that we are streaming that directory. The files themselves aren't actually localized. We're looking at tiny fractions of these files. Now, if we access a file like so, we right click it, open it up. It opens the file, a picture of my cat in a Christmas bag. You'll see now that file has got a tick next to it. And that means there is a local version of it. And it will slowly start to connect other files. If we go to a file here, because of the way Windows has its slideshow option, it will slowly but surely add files that are kind of needed in the background. Now, if we like, what we can do is right click and open up some of the Synology options. We can free up space, and it will delete any downloaded data in this shared directory, which is quite handy because it will free up space on your local desktop. Or we can pin a local copy permanently, and therefore that file will always be on this local PC, streamed and synchronized to the NAS. That's a lovely option there, and something that I'm surprised QNAP haven't already done. Now, If we carry on looking, we can take a good look at the user interface of that client application. As you can see, you can add multiple folders and files. You can add different tasks. You can run different settings. And although the options do seem a little lighter than those that we saw on the QNAP, the main important ones are there. And that file streaming and file pinning is still one of the most interesting things for me going forward, available on this platform. And if you care quite a lot about the space on your system, and I'm running a VM here with limited space, it will make all of the difference to be able to see the contents of your NAS on your local desktop system, but not have to download the entire contents of that folder. So it's quite a handy option there in the background. So those are the two kind of localized accesses using your own proprietary file management. What about accessing files and folders in the NAS? Well, that is done with both of them with File Station. There are other systems in place that we'll talk about in a bit, but for now, let's talk about File Station on both of these respective platforms. Now, if we have a look, we are going to have to touch onto a few other subjects coming up in later videos to do with remote connections, but for now, let's see both of these desktops here. Now, hopefully the squishing of half a screen of both of these operating systems and GUIs hasn't limited what you can see on screen too much, but both of them allow simple file management of just scrolling along and looking at different files and folders on your NAS. Both of them will open up in the background. Both of them will have their own directories there. Both of them will allow you to create copies and pastes, allow you to do different things in the background, create an archive, find more information about a file or folder, how big the amount of space being utilized is, and more. If we go in, we can look at different options. In here, we can go to those test files there, calculate how much space is being utilized by both. And overall, we can see that both of these systems do have lots of options for you. We can share files pretty easily as well if we wanted to share an individual file or folder. So we want to share this Mr. Bean collection. We can go to share via an email link, share to another NAS user, share to a social network, Facebook, Twitter, etc., or email a link to a user. If we go onto the Synology platform, we can go to share. And again, from here, we can set lots of options. If we go create share link and compare how the two of them create a share link, we can see that both of them let you do validity periods. Both of them allow you to attach certain security protocol. They allow you to do password and more. There's lots of different options available on both platforms. But again, just a few more options on the QNAP platform because they like to give people a bevy of choice, which I know some users may find intimidating. So, if we carry on, that's how we share files and folders. How about accessing files and folders? Well, let's go to both platforms and let's open up different kinds of file. Let's first go for photos on both of these platforms. So they've both got very similar albums. So let's open up Christmas 2019 on both of these NAS platforms. And again, I am well aware that there is dedicated photo applications on both of these platforms in the form of Photo Station on both of them, and both of them having a dedicated AI-powered tool in the case of Synology Moments and QMaggie. But we're not going to be utilizing those tools today because we're looking at file management. We will save that though for the next video. What I want to look at is if you're only accessing these files as files, not accessing them in a photo dedicated way. So let's go, for example, into this JPEG. Let's select a random JPEG from both of these albums and see what happens if we double click. As we can see, that's a picture of some turkey there and some people there cooking Christmas dinner there in the background. And we can see both of them. We can full screen them both. And both of them gives us quite a lot of information. If we do the Synology option first, we can have a little look and find out more information about the file we're looking at. If we go in, we can find out lots of information about the camera that took it, what the HDR is and stuff like that. Lots of information there in the background. And find out geolocational data as well and more information about it. In the case of QNAP, we can go into more information there. Let's open up the information source. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. I think a lot more information is readily available in the dedicated photo app, which I know a number of you might not like, because you might want to see all that information readily here on screen. So we right click there, go to properties. And again, so a lot of that photo-centric information is readily available on the photo management, on the file management side on the Synology more than the QNAP, something I did not expect. Of course, both of them allow you to download a file quite easily. Both of them let you do a slideshow to flick between the photos. Both of them let you zoom in if you choose. There are a few extra cool little options on the QNAP, like enabling 360 and VR mode, that allow you, if you're using VR headsets, to see them in a certain way, as well as the ability to stream files quite easily to connected multimedia network devices, such as Amazon Fire Stick or DLNA media players. But again, we're looking more at file handling there across the two platforms. So now let's look at a music file, and unfortunately we will have to mute the mic. We're not able to play music because of YouTube, but let's play some music here. We'll go for the Great Gaming Music album across both of these devices. This is just a simple download from online, so go for there. And if we double click one of these play options, let's go for Jin Kazama from Tekken 3, lovely little tune there. Double click them on both NAS platforms. We can see that the media viewer opens on the QNAP there, and it's playing the file there in the background. Unfortunately, we can't enable sound for this video, and we can see that the Synology has got that little media player there that we can run in the background if we so choose. What information can we garner? Well, we can do volume up and down and stuff like that, but that's really the limits of what you can do in the file management window here. The QNAP, on the other hand, we've got, again, not dissimilar options. We can flick between different tracks, very similar to that of the Synology. We've also got that option for network media play, sending it to other network devices, and there's the standard basic stuff there. So again, playing a media file in the file management window, not hugely dissimilar. Next, let's go for a video file across both of these platforms, and we'll see how they play them. Let me find the right album there, and we'll go into a video file. We'll go for a movie. The video file we've been using for a lot of our Plex testing previously has been The Matrix. So let's play The Matrix on both of these. Wrong one there. Play The Matrix. Double click. And the double click makes it download the file. What we need to do on the Synology is right click, click play, and it will open it in Video Station. So it still needs that installed app to play that file. But it will play it, as you can see there on screen, and it's running with the Video Station application, something we're going to cover in part 5 of our series of videos. But there's loads of options there with regard to transcoding, but again, this doesn't technically count because we're using the video application, and we're meant to be looking at file management. We right click here, play that file, it opens the media file player, and again, we've got that play file. Not that many users would play a file in this window. You would ideally use on both platforms their dedicated video play app, or maybe even Plex Media Server. But in the case of the QNAP, we can have a look at the options really available. And again, we can watch the video in 3D, which is quite a cool idea, running the video in a 3D window. And again, if you're running a 3D headset, there may be something you want to take advantage of. But God knows it's going to look awful in this video. And again, you can stream to network media devices or download the file, or change some of the playback with transcoding, but they've got it built into the media player here, not just in Video Station. So you've got to give QNAP a little bit of extra cred for that. And it's another example of how both brands have approached file access slightly differently. Synology always seems to give you very few options, but it chooses what it believes is the best options, and generally they are right. The QNAP gives you a lot more versatility, but some people may not like the myriad of options presented to them. Finally, I would like to look at a document file. Now, this is the one I quite like the most, because you can see how both platforms have approached this very differently. So in the case of the Synology, they have included their own dedicated Word app. I say Word, it does Excel docs. It's ultimately their own tool for users that are going to open Office docs. So rather than using Office 365 or Google Docs, they have included, if you go to the App Center, get it open there, Synology Office. It's a management tool for word processing, spreadsheets, and more. And it allows you to utilize those services to open up those Office docs on your own system. Where's Synology Office? Down here, let's find it. Probably going absolutely blind. There it is. And you download it and it allows you to open all of those different applications. So in the case of this NAS, if we double click there, it's going to download it, unfortunately, which is super annoying. But if we right click, we can view it. And it'll ask us to choose which service we want to do to open this file, and we want to open it in Synology Office. We can open it in Office if we choose, Microsoft Office, but if we want, we can open this file using Synology's own Office application. Slight delay there, but again, that's more to do with the network than this system. Can't really blame them for that. While it opens that up in the background, we can see that if we open up an Office application on the QNAP, it gives us that option for Google Docs or a Chrome extension, but also using Microsoft Office. And you can open up an Office file using Microsoft Office due to a connection of Word and Excel and more on the QNAP NAS platform. Apologies for the break in recording there, that's largely down to my pop-up blocker being an absolute nightmare, but opening up that file in Synology Office shows us it here. And again, there's a slight zoom out there, so we've got to really bear that in mind. But if we zoom them out to a similar degree, we can see that both of these applications have opened our Word doc quite easily. But do bear in mind, of course, that you may already have an existing Microsoft Word / Office 365 / Office account that you want to take advantage of, or you can use the free service plugin that the QNAP arrives in. You don't have to have a paid Office 365 account in order to utilize Microsoft Office on the QNAP there. That said, utilizing Synology Office, it is a near identical tool, and bear in mind, the Synology Office tool will allow you to only use the network. You will need to have an internet connection in order to utilize the Office plugin because it connects with your Office 365 account. So do bear that in mind. If you sever internet connectivity, you won't be able to open Microsoft Office documents on the QNAP. So there's advantages and disadvantages for both platforms opening Office docs. Now, we're going through these different means of opening files and file management, but it's worth highlighting just lightly that there is another key advantage that both individual platforms have over the other. Let's talk about the QNAP advantage first, and I'm going to go into more detail in about part 7 or 8 of this series, where I'm going to talk about synchronization tools with the cloud, but the QNAP allows you to bolt on storage in so many more ways. Both of them allow you to create new folders and new shared folders. And as you saw in my previous video, you're able to create different, multiple volumes living on a single area. You can even connect USB devices and they will appear nice and simply, just popping up on your local available drives. There's an external drive right there. But the QNAP has options like virtual JBOD and hybrid mount that allow you to connect external storage. So if we have a look at the options here, hybrid mount and virtual JBOD, they allow you to attach other storage on your device and either allow you to take space from one NAS and make it appear localized to another, or allow you to create space on your NAS and mount it on third-party clouds and vice versa. So in the case here, I've created a cloud gateway using a Google Drive account, and on file management, it then adds this cloud drive to my file management. So there's the NAS, there's the USB drive, there is a Linux VM that I'm seeing the contents of, which is already quite impressive on its own, and there is my Google Drive. And this Google Drive can be accessed and all of its files opened, all of its photos, all of its music, all of its video, all of its docs, exactly the same way as if I opened it up locally on the NAS, which is a great tool. Now, Synology doesn't have anything quite like that at the moment, although DSM-7 does seemingly have hybrid share, something they're going to be adding quite soon, which isn't dissimilar to hybrid mount. But I will say, with virtual JROD and hybrid share on the QNAP now, it does seem a little bit more evolved at this stage, and it's currently available, as opposed to Synology not rolling it out yet on DSM. Now, what has Synology got to compete with that? Well, very much in their remit of keeping things simple and keeping things user-friendly, they have got Synology Drive. Now, Synology Drive is a lovely thing. Synology Drive tries to bridge the gap between users that are moving from the likes of Google Drive and Dropbox and OneDrive, and allows you to have a single portal access point via the browser or via that synchronized folder that we talked about earlier on with the pinning, and allows you to access all of your files and photos via the browser via a single portal access point. There is support for opening videos, opening photos, opening music, opening docs, and more directly via the web browser in a way that is way more familiar to users who use Google Drive and use Dropbox. Those tools, one of the biggest advantages that Google Drive and Dropbox have over NAS is that they normally have a single portal access point that allows users to open up files and folders via this single window, this single portal. NASes generally ask you to use their own respective apps, their own video apps, their own photo apps, their own music apps. And when you do try to open files and folders in the file management as we've done today, you end up with a lesser experience. Synology Drive gives you all of that one portal access point presented to you from the likes of from Google Drive and Office 365, but does it without using the internet. This is all over the local area network, and it will allow connected users in your home or office environment to have that tailored one portal access point to all of the files and folders there. And again, that is a dedicated user interface, and there is a mobile application too. And it is incredibly streamlined and straightforward. It's not quite as configurable as a lot of file management tools that you might find, but it's still a lovely one portal user access point. And it's one of the main reasons why, when we did look at the localized folders of QSync for the QNAP and Synology Drive for the Synology, that a lot of those options were not available on the QNAP one, because Synology have spent a lot of money creating this great Drive user interface. Now, if we have a look with that business of status, this is what it's interacting with. It's interacting on the Synology Drive folder with the Synology Drive application. But therein lies one of the downsides, and that is, and this is something we're going to come across even more in the videos that come after this with regards to photos, music, video, and more. Synology, in order to keep things simple, in a lot of cases, it will direct you to make sure your types of files are in a preset folder. So in the case of Moments and Drive, for example, it will ask you to make sure that all the files and folders that you want to access via Drive are in that Drive folder. You can't use Drive to access these other directories. Drive will only access this directory. Same goes for the synchronized folder, same goes for photos in Moments, same goes for other applications too. So that kind of scope, although it keeps things simple and allows indexing and caching and thumbnail generation to be done very, very quickly on the fly, Synology's file management in that way, a lot of users may find a little limited. Now, QNAP, on the other hand, allows you to put your files and folders wherever the hell you want, and it will ask you, when opening these applications for photo, for music, for video, where your media lives, and allow you to tell it the files and folders that it's in. Now, you would think by doing that it may make indexing take longer or thumbnail generation take longer, but, and I'll go into more detail in the other videos, a lot of that is streamlined thanks to Multimedia Console. This is a single portal access point that allows you to say where the content for each individual application lives in the NAS. It doesn't force you to use the folders it tells you to. You tell it where your data lives. You can say which files and folders you want excluded. You can say file types you want excluded, and then it will index those folders periodically and then generate thumbnails periodically. And that is how it manages to still maintain a good level of thumbnail generation and indexing compared with the Synology, even though it's a far more customizable setup. It requires a little bit more setup, and as mentioned before, the QNAP has a little bit more configuration options readily apparent, which some users may find intimidating, but at the same time, it's done for a greater degree of customization. When I talk about file pinning, it's worth highlighting that QSync does technically have its own variant of that. It's just not quite as graphical or user-friendly. So as you see, you can share links and you can delete files in this folder but keep it on the NAS, but you don't really have that wonderful file pinning option that the Synology had, something which is quite nice to have, and I quite like all this stuff. But that comes down to you, the end user, whether you're going to take advantage of it. And ultimately, hopefully this video has helped you choose which one of these two NAS brands works and gives the right options for you and your file management. I hope you guys have found this video helpful. In my next video, I'm going to be looking at photography. I'm going to be looking at photos on a NAS using the dedicated photo apps, and ultimately the way in which QNAP and Synology allow users to interact with photography on their devices. So do check that out. But otherwise, click like if you've enjoyed this video, click subscribe to learn more, and do visit the links in the description to NAS Compares, where I've got lots of information on individual NAS brands, along with NAS deals and NAS guides and everything NAS.